Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, this is Ma'am Syra, your instructor in the subject Environmental Science. In my background, you can see an example of fish pens. This is one example of how aquaculture works because for this session, we are going to discuss about fishing and aquaculture. At the end of our session, you will learn about the different methods of fishing, including longline and trawling, and also you will learn about the increasing use of farming or aquaculture. So now, I am going to share to you our PowerPoint presentation as a guide for our class discussion for this topic. This PowerPoint presentation is downloaded from our room science. Okay, so let us wait for the I will just put it in a wide screen. Okay. So we have here fishing and aquaculture. If you're overfishing at the top of the food chain and acidifying the ocean at the bottom, you are creating a squeeze that could conceivably collapse the whole system. That is a reminder from Carl Safina. So now, when we discuss about fishing and aquaculture, we will observe how people is overexploiting our marine resources. Okay, so fish harvesting. This is important since this is the main purpose why we have fishing. As the human population increased exponentially in the early 20th century, fish harvesting did as well. Wild capture of fish reached a plateau in 1989. As early as that, we actually reached the plateau of fish harvesting in 1989, with fish farming accounting for most of the growth since then. Overharvesting of fish has caused some fish stocks to collapse. A fishery. What is a fishery? Baka akala natin a fishery is a course. But in scientific terms, a fishery is an ecosystem where the concentration of certain fish is high enough for commercial harvesting. So ito kumbaga yung very ideal ecosystem wherein there is the concentration of fish for commercial harvesting. So fisheries tend to be found near, number one, river mouths due to the deposition of nutrients that enter water from land runoff. So that is a good location wherein we can find a good fishery. Okay, river mouths. Another is open ocean upwellings, where winds blow surface water aside and allow nutrient-rich water from below to rise up. So this is another good location to find a fishery, the open ocean upwellings. If you will observe the two, both of these locations are nutrient-rich water or bodies of water. Okay, so now we have the different fishing methods. One of the earliest form of large-scale fishing is pole fishing. Kung nakikita niyo yung picture, usually ganyan sila. Where a school of fish is attracted to a boat through the use of bait, yung mga pain. The fish enter a feeding frenzy. Okay? So, kapag nandun yung mga fish doon sa area kung marami ang mga bait, yung mga pain, doon na doon concentrated ang fish, doon din magto-throw ng gamit nila is fishing pole and line. doon sa water. So, the fish enter a feeding frenzy and are pulled out of the water one at a time using a fishing pole and a line. So, parang kagaya ng mga nakikita natin dito sa ating lugar na kapag nag-fishing, may dala lang na, yan, parang ganyan, no? Pang bingwit ba ang tawag? Oo. So, that's one of the oldest form of large-scale fishing. Another is, tandaan niyo po yun ha, pole fishing. Another is longline fishing. Longline fishing is a commercial fishing technique where baited hooks are attached to a single long fishing line that trails behind a ship. So, hindi na naman nagpi-play itong video. Siguro, you can look for videos in YouTube on longline fishing. Ito hanggang ngayon, ginagamit pa ito na longline fishing sa iba't ibang lugar kasi this is a good strategy to catch big fishes. Okay? So, longline fishing po yon. Another is, ayun, wait lang. Play ba yata siya? Purse seining. Okay? It deploys large nets over school of fish identified from aerial survey. The top of the net is pulled together like the drawing string of a purse. So, tingnan niyo po yung picture dito sa gilid. Ito na parang may purse. Yan yon. It deploys large nets over schools of fish. So, may target na sila na schools of fish. Of course, identified naman yun ng mga fishermen. They use different devices, radar, to locate schools of fishes. Okay? The top of the net is pulled together like the drawstring of a purse. So, captured yan lahat. Another is drift netting. It uses long nets, pahaba naman ito, kung ang purse seining ay parang paganto lang. Ang drift netting naman use long nets that span large expanses of open ocean water. O parang kagaya nito na nakikita natin. And another, ito yung actually na pinaka ginagamit pero the fastest and most efficient way to catch fish is by trawling, where a large funnel shape is dragged behind a ship. So kung nakikita ninyo dito sa ito, the net is weighted with chains of metal plates. Andyan, no? Ano ang negative effect niyan? Look at it. Trawling scrapes up the ocean bottom, destroying the benthic habitats, including coral reefs. So imagine, fastest way nga siya to catch fish. Most efficient. However, look at the result na nangyayari. If I play this, sige, tignan natin. Sana mag-play siya. So, loading lang. Yan, observe. Nag-loading yata eh. Ayun, nawala. Okay, sige. Let's move on kasi talagang mabagal ang internet natin ngayon. So, next. O yun, nag-play na ulit. Ano ba yan? Let's watch it. Okay. So, now, trawling is scrapes up the ocean bottom. Tingnan nyo naman yung result after trawling. Destroying benthic habitats, including coral reefs. Diba, na-discuss natin doon sa aquatic ecosystem. Yung benthic, yung mga bentos, yun yung benthic habitats ng mga bentos na mga nasa ilalim sila. Como yun yung tinatarget ng mga crawling fishes or marine fishes or species na nasa ilalim, pati yung coral reefs na dadamay. So, we have this bycatch na tinatawag. Ano yung bycatch? This bycatch is unwanted fish, birds, and mammals that are caught alongside desired fish species. Kasi when we do fishing, ang target lang naman natin is fishing dapat. Kaya nga fishing fish. But because of that strategy nga na ginagamit, for example, trawling, there is a high probability or high chances na makakuha ng bycatch or unwanted fish, birds na dadamay, and mammals that are caught alongside the desired fish species. So nearly 1/3 of the total annual fish catch is bycatch. Look, rates of bycatch vary by fishing methods. Example estimate lang ito. Di ba meron tayong iba't ibang fishing method? Ito yung rates ng mga bycatch kapag ito yung gagamitin nating mga fishing method. So, kapag ginamit natin yung shrimp trawling o yung trawling, 62% bycatch. So, imagine kung gaano kadami yung nakukuha na hindi naman supposed to be caught. Drift netting, yung kanina, yung medyo pahaba. 60%, mataas din. Tuna long lining, 28%. Mataas din siya. Porceining, 5%. Mababa, 5%. Medyo mababa pa. Kasi school of fish, usually, halos magkaka-same species lang yun. Yung sa pole fishing naman, 0.5 to 1.5% lang. Of course, kasi one at a time lang naman eh. Wala ka namang maano na iba pa. Unlike kapag yung trawling, 62% is bycatch. So look at this example. Meron nang nakuha na dolphin. At iba pa na yung mga shrimp. Hindi naman dapat sila kasama sa ika-catch, di ba? So we have to maintain this sustainable fishing. That is the highlight for this discussion, the sustainable fishing. The maximum sustainable yield is the highest amount of species that can be harvested without diminishing the population for future years. So dapat yan yung ano natin, kumbaga nasa isip, say for example, we are fishermen, dapat yung maximum sustainable yield ay alam natin. Why? Because this is the highest amount of species that can be harvested. So yun yung madami nating pwedeng ma-harvest. Okay? Without diminishing the population for future years. So we are not compromising the resources for the next generation. Kaya siya, maximum sustainable yield. Kailangan natin ma-sustain. Okay? So overexploited fisheries are being harvested at unsustainable levels. Ito yung problema talaga. Because there are overexploitation. Overexploited fisheries, yung lugar na kung saan maraming mga fishes, are being harvested at unsustainable levels. Kahit na-reach na yung maximum yield, sustainable yield, sige pa din. That's why nagkakaroon tayo ng overfishing. And that is one of the problem. Diba, on the tragedy of common, overfishing is one of the resources talaga na overexploited. So over time, this can become depleted fisheries with stocks so low that fishing cannot be supported. So kapag yan, nagpatuloy, magkakaroon na ng depletion ng fishes doon sa fisheries, sa area na kung saan marami ang makakasurvive na fishes. So at worst, hindi lang bababa hanggang sa it cannot support fishing. Okay, so sustainability of a fishery can also be evaluated based on what types of organisms are harvested. Sabi daw po, yung sustainability ng fishery can be evaluated based sa types of organism na nakaharvest. So aquatic communities are organized like those on land. So parehas lang din naman ng sa land. Meron ding different trophic levels or place on a food chain. Siyempre, mag-uumpisa yan sa trophic level 1, producers, the phytoplanktons and algae. The trophic level 2, herbivores or the zooplankton. Trophic level 3, carnivores that eat herbivores. Okay. Trophic level 4, carnivores that eat other carnivores. Ito na yung mga medium-sized fish. And lastly, the trophic level 5, the apex predators, the largest carnivorous fishes. So kung titingnan natin dito sa infographic, okay? Dito makikita natin yung different trophic level in a marine ecosystem or aquatic community, from trophic level 1 up to the apex predators or TL5. So yan yung basis daw po to evaluate sustainability of a fishery. Okay. The Marine Trophic Index or MTI is a measurement of the average trophic level of the total catch from a fishery. So meron parang measurement or computation, okay, to get the average trophic level of the total catch from a fishery. So in the early 1990s, the fishing industry in Newfoundland, Canada collapsed. Why? Due to overfishing of mature cod. So tignan na overfish, mature cod. It is one of the apex predator in the trophic level 5. Okay? So it collapsed. The marine ecosystem collapsed due to the overfishing of mature cod. Bakit kaya? Fishing down the food chain described the practice of targeting fish at decreasing trophic level as this collapse occurs. So fishing down the food chain describes the practice of targeting fish at decreasing trophic levels as this collapse occur. Look at this. As traditionally valuable species have declined, some species of trash fish have been renamed or rebranded to make them more marketable. So tignan nyo na lang yung mga nandi-develop, yung mga medium size. Okay, kasi yung mga most valuable kagaya nung cod na overfish nga, na ubos na. So yung mga nag-decline, maubos nga. So some species of trash fish have been rebranded. Halimbawa ito na usually dati hindi naman kinakain. Pero edible naman. So ni-rebrand nila to make them marketable. So makikita ninyo, sa mga trophic level, kahit anong trophic level doon, once na na-overexploit natin yun, the tendency is that pwedeng mag-collapse yung marine ecosystem. Okay? So, we have, of course, to prevent that to happen, we have fishing regulations. Up to 1960s, the only regulations on fishing were territorial waters. So we have exclusive fishing zone that reached 12 miles of each coastline. So ang tawag natin doon is territorial waters. Okay, countries are not allowed to fish territorial waters of other nations without permission. So kada nation meron silang territorial waters na nasasakupan. Without the permission of that country, you are banned or you are prohibited to do some fishing kasi nga nasasakop yon ng exclusive fishing zone ng isang territory. But in 1982, a larger exclusive economic zone or EEZ of 200 miles was established along each nation's coastline. So kung dati 12 miles lang yung exclusive fishing zone, nagkaroon na ng additional or larger exclusive economic zone hanggang 200 miles. So dito sa picture, yan, dati 12 lang yung territorial waters. Now, because of this new fishing regulation, EEZ or the exclusive economic zone hanggang 200 miles, so meron ng right dyan ang bawat nation. So each nation has exclusive right over all marine resources discovered within these zones, including fishing and oil extraction. So kagaya ng mainit na issue hanggang ngayon sa ating Scarborough, so we know for a fact that we have the exclusive right of that resources. Okay? Pero inaangkin ng ibang nation. Okay? So the rest of the ocean is classified as international waters, meaning all nations have the freedom to use them. So kapag lagpas na doon sa territorial natin, sa economic territorial zone or exclusive zone, international water na yun, all nations have the freedom to use them. So many countries now establish restrictions on the amount of fish that can be harvested within their water. So maganda yon. In the US, example natin ulit, annual catch limits or quotas have been established at levels lower than the maximum sustainable yield, meaning fish stocks are able to recover each year. So dahil ang quota nila o yung limit nila ay below pa or mas mababa sa maximum sustainable yield, pag na-reach na nila yon, then they will stop. So merong chance na makarecover yung mga fishes. Fish stocks are able to recover each year. So pwedeng mag-impregnate na ang mga fish, mag-mature, magpadami. So for the next year, meron na naman silang fishes. Mataas na naman yung concentration ng fishes doon sa specific fishery. So these limits have been enforced by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration or NOAA since 2012. So this is a very good example. So fully protected marine reserves where no living organisms can be legally harvested have also been established to protect areas especially high in biodiversity. So meron tayong tinatawag na marine reserves. Fully protected marine reserves where no living organisms can be legally harvested. So dyan sa marine reserves, wala tayong pwedeng kunin. Okay? Have been established to protect areas especially high in biodiversity. Dito sa Pilipinas, meron ditong mga area na marine reserves. Okay? So the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park is the largest marine reserve. Saan ba natin yan makikita na marine? Na Great Barrier. Anong lugar ba yan? From? Sa may Australia ata yan, the Great Barrier Reef. Okay. So yung iba pa dyan ng mga examples, ito yung sa Mariana Trench Marine National Monument, Galapagos Marine Reserve. So, yun. Pag meron diyang fish or do some illegal activities, meron yan, pwede silang makulong. Or kung ano ang punishment ng government. The Marine Mammal Protection Act, meron din, Marine Mammal Protection Act was passed in 1972, okay, and banned the taking and importing of marine mammals and products of marine mammals in the United States. Kasi meron tayong mga mammals, di ba, sa dagat. Hindi lang naman fishes. Meron ding mga reptiles na naandyan. Okay. So, this required fishing fleets to modify their gear with devices that allow mammals and other bycatch to escape. For example, itong nandito, meron kumbaga way or paraan na pag may na bycatch, yung mga unwanted nga, hindi fish. Halimbawa, ito turtle in this example. Ang turtle hindi natin pwede yan i-harvest. So, merong way to allow that mammal or other bycatch to escape. Pero maiiwan, hindi makaka-escape yung mga fishes. Okay, so this is one good example of a Marine Mammal Protection Act. Okay, so in spite of these laws, okay, meron tayong mga provisions and regulations, illegal fishing is still widespread. Coastal developing countries lack the resources to patrol their waters or have government officials that have been bribed. So yan lang ang problema. Lalo na sa mga developing countries, wala talaga tayong resources para magpatrol sa ating mga territorial waters. Or naman, government officials that have been bribed, nabayaran, kaya sige lang, ganun, tuloy lang. Hanggang sa maubos niyo, okay lang kasi nabayaran naman. Okay, so that is a very bad activity. Kawawa naman ang ating ocean, the planet in general. So aquaculture, as the limits of wild seafood harvesting have been increasingly clear. Okay, so yung harvesting natin sa wild, sa ocean, so have been increasingly clear, industries are now beginning use aquaculture. So the process of farming aquatic organisms. So kung nagfa-farm tayo sa land, meron din naman tayong aquatic farming and we call it aquaculture, the farming of aquatic organisms. Aquaculture. Itong background ko na nakikita ninyo ngayon sa likod, okay, that is one aquaculture operation, yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. We call them as fish pens. Okay? Most aquaculture operation work by taking eggs or immature fish and raising them in long rectangular nets called fish pens. So, feed and other supplements are added to the top of the pen. Waste drop out the bottom of the pen to the seafloor. These operations are vulnerable to many of the same issues as large animal farms, including antibiotic overuse and manure. So yun yung parang nakikita na disadvantage naman itong mga fish pens. Though nagkakaroon nga tayo ng culturing of aquatic species, yung ano lang is yung risk is the operations are vulnerable to many of the same issues as large animal farms, including antibiotic overuse and yung manure. Okay? So, ano yung pwede nating magawa? Okay? So, meron din naman silang na-discover, na-invent. Fish farming can be combined with hydroponics to create aquaponics. So, di ba na-mention natin yan ito noong nakaraan sa ating plant agriculture. So, aquaponics uses water from fish farming as a source of nutrients as it is circulated through the plant root. So, itong mga aquaponics are plants na hindi na sila naka-anchor sa soil. Nakatanim na sila sa water na, kaya nga aqua, from the word aqua means water. So, it uses water. Okay? So, anong water yung ginagamit? Yung mga galing sa fish farming, sa aqua pens, for example, or sa fish pens pala. Okay? So, as a source of nutrients, kasi yung mga manure ng mga fishes, it serves as a natural source of nutrients. Okay? As it is circulated through the plant root. So, yung water na yun, yung from fish pens or from hydroponics, okay, ay magagamit siya. So, walang, kumbaga, yung waste na water ay mapapakinabangan siya. So, now, Another is consumer label. So, para alam ninyo, any fish labeled as farmed was raised in aquaculture or aquaponics facility. So, pag meron kayong nakita na label na farmed, ibig sabihin, sa aquaculture na lang yun. Hindi na yun nahuli sa dagat mismo or sa aquaponics facility. Wild caught fish is just that it was caught from a body of water. So pag wild caught, talagang yung galing mismo sa fresh from the bodies of water. Okay, so just so you know lang po yung mga ano natin. So ito, MSC certification, ito MSC is a label attached to any seafood that follows sustainable fishing practices as established the Marine Steward Council. So mas maganda, ibig sabihin kapag merong ganyan, ibig sabihin nagpa-follow sila doon sa maximum sustainable yield. Okay, they follow fishing or sustainable fishing practices. So mas maganda tangkilikin natin yung mga ganitong kumpanya na nagfa-follow doon sa sustainable fishing practices. Okay, so the Monterey Bay Aquarium has developed a seafood watch program that rates different types of fish based on whether they are overfished or if their farming harms the environment. So, ito yung Monterey Bay Aquarium. So, ano yung mga best choices? Yan. Yan. Good alternatives. Avoid. Yan yung mga list natin. Kasi yung mga kailangang i-avoid, of course, ibig sabihin, they are overfished. Okay? So, meron namang good alternatives dyan. At merong best choices. Ibig sabihin, maaaring madami pa ang mga ganitong uri ng species. Okay? So, even in the Philippines, meron din tayong mga regulation in terms of fishing. Okay? Pero madami pa din po yung mga illegal fishers natin. Mga illegal kasi they uses techniques na na illegal like dynamite fishing, meron pa din namang gumagamit noon. Tapos yung fishing na ginagamit nila are very small nets na marami yung nababy catch na supposed to be hindi naman. Kaya lang yung problema nga in our condition is wala talagang mga marine patrollers na makakapagbantay sa ating bodies of water. So, as a student, as a concerned citizen, yun ang magiging natin, part to raise awareness, to observe our community kung ano ang nangyayari patungkol halimbawa in fishing, also in agriculture. What awareness can you share to them? How can you apply this knowledge doon sa real life? O kahit nga, sabi ko nga sa inyo, kahit technology students kayo, you still belong to a community na makikitaan ninyo ng ganito. Kasi regardless of our courses or our professions, pag environment ang pinag-uusapan, we are connected to it. Always connected to it. Tingnan nyo, pag bumagyo, diba, sino ang in danger? Ang mga fishes ba? Are they worried that much kapag may mga bagyo or may mga red tide, for example? Sino ang worried? Di ba tayong tao? So we are affected. Tayo pa din naman kasi yung magsasuffer noong mga wrongdoings natin. So let us not wait to suffer the consequences of our bad activities in our environment. Okay, so yun lang muna ang ating discussion for fishing and aquaculture. So that is all for our session today. And I hope you learned something and do your part. as a student and as a concerned citizen, as an earthling. Okay? You are given the right to protect, a responsibility to take care of our environment. Thank you and have a nice day.